Hello, this is Chris Kouslis, and welcome to another episode of the IT Woodworker. I am joined by a returning guest, Detective Jeff Wigg. Jeff, I just got to tell you, the last podcast that I had you on was the most listened to podcast I had, so I'm very excited to have you on. So, welcome to the podcast today.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad to be back. And just as a technicality, I did manage to level up at work since the last time we talked. So I'm technically a deputy chief right now. So
Oh,
uh,
okay. Deputy Chief, then. So I
yeah,
missed that in the on the precursor here in our introduction call. So my apologies. My apologies.
no problem.
And additionally, where we'd left off the last time we talked too, you were heading out to Quantico to the FBI Academy. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that. That had to be pretty exciting.
Yes. It was a great phone call to get. It was kind of unexpected. I had only applied a few months prior, but I was in the right place at the right time. Several people ahead of me to go out to the National Academy had made the decision that they were going to retire. So the resident agent in our local office reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you think you can go and be there in the next few months?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And so I go out there. What an incredible experience it was. The people I met, the friends I made, even today, I was communicating with a guy from Gibraltar. If you know where that is, just south of Spain, there, sovereign part of the United Kingdom. It was nothing. I just sent in some pictures, but they're having a meeting over there in Europe of the FBI National Academy Associates. So I've been getting some photos from some of my friends. One of them over there, he's from Norway. I had participated in the international partnership program. So my roommate was Norwegian, and it was great hanging out with the internationals for 10 weeks. It was just an incredible experience.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm excited about the additional podcasts that I'm going to tap you for then to talk with all your friends around the world. So
Sure.
very exciting. So, and as we get into this podcast here, it's exciting, and I don't know any other way to put it, but how you had kind of laid it out to me. It's a reverse scamming the Nigerians,
Yes.
who are taking advantage of everybody from every class to every age, throughout the United States. So I think we can just kind of jump into this podcast here, Jeff. But you want to
Sure.
frame it up a little bit here? Um, go.
Yeah. How this kind of happened is like many cases. An elderly person in our community. She came in. She had cashed a check that she thought was legitimate, and then she got another one. She cashed that, thinking it was legitimate. And these scams are always kind of the same. This one in particular was, if you do this and we hire you, we'll wrap your vehicle with a particular company's logo. That company will pay you X amount of dollars per month just to drive around, and we'll pay you. And here's the money to get that done. And how the scam works is, obviously the checks are fake. But when you get it, there's always an overage, and they're like, "Oh, we made a mistake. Send back the excess, keep a little for your trouble, and then we'll get a hold of you about setting up the wrapping of your car." This happens twice. The bank calls. These are fake. They're fraudulent. Now you're out tens of tens of thousands of dollars, or several thousand. I forget the exact amount, but it is at least several thousand. The case gets referred to investigations, and it kind of fell on my desk because the investigator initially assigned was out. And then she gets a third check, and that's where this whole thing starts to blossom and unfold.
So let me back this up. I just want to make sure I've got
Mm-hmm.
my head wrapped around this right. So it's an online link.
Yes.
And I mean I've actually seen vehicles driving around with different wraps on them. So they say, hey, if you drive so many miles a month, then we'll pay you because you're advertising our brand. So we'll wrap your car with this and we'll pay you for this. They click on the link. Somebody reaches out to them with all the details, and in this case, they said we're going to send you money to wrap the car. Is that how it worked?
Yeah. we're going to send you a check to cover the wrapping of your vehicle.
Okay.
But then when they get the check, they get a follow-up messages, usually texts and phone calls. Sorry, we sent you an excess amount. Maybe they'll say, oh, we thought that amount was going to this other person who was doing it, so we sent you too much. So what we'd like you to do is just cash the check, hold this amount to essentially,
Pay for the wrapping of the vehicle.
yeah, and you can keep a little for yourself, but send the excess back to us. And the
Okay.
excess is thousands. So the
Okay.
bulk of it is thousands of dollars, not like a few $100. It's
So
thousands.
in the first two, so they sent three. So the first two was over $10,000 that she
Uh,
had, or
it
that
was
this
it
person
was
had sent, or close
yeah,
to that,
it was close. Yeah, it was close.
close to that. So pretty
Mhm.
significant amount of money.
Correct.
Okay, so then they come in, it gets signed. They tell you what's going on. It gets assigned to you, and check three comes in the mail. Go.
So check three comes in the mail, and the victim gets a hold of me. As it turns out, like I know the victim personally, so they reached out to me direct. I went to their house. I know her and her husband. And as we're sitting there and I'm taking some notes and she's producing this other check that they always show up by FedEx or UPS overnight, things like that.
So it looks professional. It looks legit.
Yep, it does. This individual is calling and texting her. And I asked her, I'm like, well, do they know that you know this is fake? And she said, no. And I said, okay, we got a chance. I'm like, where did you mail the cash? Because you don't mail back gift cards or anything like that. In these
So
cases, at
it's
least
not even
back
a
then,
certified check. They're putting cash in an
no,
envelope and sending it.
when she cashes the check, she's sending cash overnight to the offenders.
Wow. Okay.
So I said, well, do they know? She said no. And I said, okay, let's string them along. So we came up with this ruse, um, because they obviously know she's an older person. I'm like, you're at the doctor. Just keep delaying them. You're at the doctor. And these people get pretty insistent and they get pretty aggressive. And so older people generally they get scared about this stuff. So I'm like, just string them along. And I gathered up some things at her residence. I took some photos, and then I took off to the bank. And in this case, what helps is, we're not the biggest community, and I know a lot of people. So I knew the bank I was going to, and I got the bank to work with me on this deal. So what I did is I showed up to the bank. I talked to the manager. I said, here's what I need you to do. Who do I need to talk to make this happen? I said, I need you to act like you've cashed this check. I need a bank slip that says it's cashed. I need I need a stack of cash, take a photo of so it looks legit. And
So the
then
scammers wanted evidence
yes,
so that they knew that they weren't being scammed. Is that so they really had this
yes,
laid out well.
yes. And on top of it, I had to find a desk at the bank that the wood grain looked like the wood grain at the lady's kitchen. So just
So
by
she'd
chance,
already done this for the first two times. She'd taken the
yeah,
bank slip, she'd taken the pictures of it, she'd
yes,
sent that all back to these folks. Okay.
yes. So through a series of phone calls, the bank goes to work. They talk to their security to try to get this lined up. I talk with security to try to get this lined up. And now my next move is who do I call in this jurisdiction where this stuff is going to get sent?
So you're in one state.
Mm-hmm.
This whole scammer group is in another state. So you're cross jurisdictions, you're cross state lines now.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And it just so happened that I knew somebody in this state.
Because you are the guy that knows the guy.
I always try to be a guy that knows a guy
And
or
you
girl.
are.
Yeah. So I make a call, and then this person put me in touch with a guy who just happened to be the right guy. The guy, a master detective who headed up a task force in this particular city. that dealt with this kind of stuff. And then I told him what I had going on. He started going to work. I kept him updated as this flowed throughout the day. And then I made another call and I was able to get in touch with the head of security for the company we used to make the delivery of what the offenders thought was going to be an envelope full of cash. So that needed to look legit too. That was another component. When you mail the money back, they're going to demand to see a receipt. So we had to make it look like that was all legit.
Okay.
So I went to this company. I purchased an overnight envelope, and what I had done is the amount of money that it was going to be, I cut up white paper in about dollar bill size, and actually, to be honest, I weighed it out because I had a case years ago where several $100,000 were stolen, and I got curious, like, well, what would that weigh? So I kind of knew the weight of the bills. So
You
I
want it to be legit when they get it. This
yeah,
package is the right amount of money, right? Nice.
it yeah. So I
It's a good thing
stuff
you're not a criminal. I mean, look at that look at the wheel, the way the wheels
yeah,
work.
and I may have put a little note in the package. So I seal it up, send it off. I get a hold of the head of security for the company that we use. I said, here's your tracking number, and can you do an intercept? And he said, he's on it.
So the scammers
So,
are expecting this to come. You said you got a next day envelope. So the
yes,
scammers are expecting they sent the check, it gets deposited, the pictures get taken, it's back in the mail. So they should have their money back in 2 to 3 days. So
no,
you said no, no,
no.
no, no.
The next day by noon.
Oh, they want it back
So,
that fast. Okay.
so that means me and the original detective this was assigned to, me and him were driving overnight to see this through because they needed us there.
Oh, you get to be on site. Nice.
Yes, yeah, this was all fun. That was fun being there when it went down. So he works on coordinating the intercept through his company. I'm relating information back and forth with this detective in this city. He's coordinating an anticipatory search warrant on his end for what's going on. And then some other things that came into play, unbeknownst to me at the time, is where this check was being sent was actually a community of relocated foreign nationals, in this case, legitimately people from Nigeria, that law enforcement was trying to find out who was involved in what there, because they knew things were going on, but they had no direct connect or a nexus to get in there with any kind of a search warrant or things
I,
like
I
that.
got to throw a disclaimer out too, because we said reverse scamming Nigerians. We are
Yeah.
not saying all Nigerians are bad people.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely
just
not.
I'm
No,
throwing that out there. This particular group of scammers were Nigerians that were bad people. Just want to
that
throw
is
that disclaimer
correct.
out before we get a bunch of emails. Go ahead.
Yeah, that is correct. So on their end, they actually had a U.S. Secret Service task force that was they became interested in this case. Now they wanted some involvement to at least be there when this went down because now they're curious in the players because obviously some things are on their radar. Exactly what all those things were, like, I'm not privy to all that, but I did get word that they would be joining us on this search warrant. And so in the meantime, I'm balancing calls between this task force in this city, um, the the delivery company that we're using for the package, and then the victim in this case. And I'm scripting her on what to say and what to do. and then delaying X amount of time and blah, blah, blah. So once the bank obviously comes on board and they're like, yes, we will do all this. I go there, I get a photo of a deposit slip that's fake. I get a photo of all the cash, and I forward that to the victim, who then forwards it on to the offenders. And there could be a flaw in this, especially nowadays with technology. So if you just take that forward photo and you forward it, and then that person forwards it,
The
the
metadata on there is going to show that it was taken
yes,
in somewhere else
that
by
is
another phone at a different time. Yeah.
that's correct. And actually, that played a hand in this because I did not know at the time, because I instructor, I'm like, download this photo before you do this. That didn't happen. So that comes into play later. The one of the main scammers actually got my phone number, my work phone number,
Oh,
because of this. But that was another fun part of the story. We'll get to that because
okay, good,
that's a
good.
good
This
part of the
is this is
story.
good stuff.
All right. So all this stuff, it it actually it works out by some miracle. And anybody who's listened to this that's a cop and ever been involved in anything remotely close to this or anything, it's amazing this was able to be pulled off, handling all these different spokes of the wheel, for lack of a better term.
So who else
Uh,
involved? You, I mean, your local department's involved in this. The
yes,
department in the other states involved in this,
yes.
along with the task force that's involved in
Well,
that.
so yeah, it's a city PD, a task force, the Secret Service, us, a private company who's shipping the package, and then the offenders and a private citizen. But
So seven,
yeah, yeah, I think that's seven, 6 or 7.
seven.
So me and my partner, we get up in the wee hours in the morning and we start making a long drive.
Got to
We
be a lot of
arrive at
excitement there, though. Keep you
oh
awake.
yeah,
Lot
it's
excitement,
yeah.
coffee, donuts, and not because you're police. The donut thing. Don't get me wrong there. I'm just saying coffee, donuts, excitement.
Yeah, yeah. Disclaimer: we had a normal breakfast of like eggs and stuff. We did not have donuts, but
Okay,
uh,
okay.
so we get to the city and we meet up for the briefing and we talk about it and how it's going to go down. And this particular jurisdiction was large enough. They had fake uniforms for various companies. So what had happened is the company did an intercept of the package. The package was given to a police officer who's dressed like a representative of that company. They were going to make delivery, and there was going to be different facets of these organizations observing this delivery. So they make the delivery. A person takes receipt of the package. They sign for it. They go back inside. And then maybe less than a minute later, one of the funniest things happened. The person comes running back out to complain to the driver that they've been ripped off because inside the package was just white cut up pieces of
Hold
paper.
on a second. Hold on a second. I got to wrap my head around this. So, be, because there wasn't money in the package, they ran out to complain to the delivery driver that they just got scammed. The scammers just got scammed. That's what they
Yeah,
came out to complain about.
they were upset because there wasn't cash in the envelope. There was just white pieces of paper. And about that same time, these agencies were converging on the residents. And then me and my partner, we came in a few minutes later after we made sure everything was secure.
Unbelievable. This is
Yeah,
good stuff. You can't write fiction like this.
I know truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So where did it go from here?
Uh, we tried to interview the individuals. That wasn't very successful. A search warrant of the residence. We looked through everything, and what was found is it looked like there was just scam upon scam occurring. Inside the residence, there was like a closet. It was filled with high end liquor, which looked like it was being sold out of there too. how that was obtained was kind of foggy at the time. I don't know if they determined what happened after that. There was also several overnight type envelopes from other people from around the country, and that had something to do with like the scam we were working on.
So how long had this been going? I mean, how long were they at that house for?
I don't recall how long they had lived there. Not too terribly long, but I don't recall if it had
Well, it
been
just seems
used.
really brazen to me that these scammers have an address that everything, it's not even a PO box or like a fake address. There's actually people at this and no one had caught them to this point in time.
No, no. And while we were in there, we found fake license plate, like temporary tags from another state. And outside was like an alert patrol sergeant. And he came in, he said, "Hey, all these cars in this neighborhood have the same tag on them." And one car tried escaping that registered to the address we were at. So they end up seizing a few, I think, some high-end foreign cars. I can't exactly remember all of them. I know one was a Mercedes, but they seized a few cars in this incident because they were related to this now license plate scam that they uncovered there. So in the end, there was cash recovered, and then some vehicles seized too.
And a lot of booze.
I I think in the end the booze was left because there's like no real nexus to show that it had been,
There wasn't a
you
paper
know,
trail to show that it was
right,
ill-gotten goods.
right. It certainly was very, very suspicious. But be that as it may, there was like no real way to say, well, it's missing from here or there. So I just think that was all left behind in the end.
So did the victims get their cash recovered?
Well, the victims in our case, no. And see, that's the bad thing to these cases. Once people get the money is gone.
Hmm.
And then the other problem is yes, this person that answered the door and then admitted to opening up that package had involvement, but was it the same person that opened it a few days before when our victim sent it? And and so absent showing that, it's hard to say, well, you're the one that set up the victim in my town and scammed them. So that's that's part of the, I guess, the downfall of these cases. There's satisfaction in getting somebody.
Yeah,
There's satisfaction in getting them with things they shouldn't have, and seizing things that they gained illegally. But a lot of times, what happens in this case is even if you find an offender or a really, really good suspect, your victim's not getting anything back because
sure.
it's gone. So in this case, that's what happened. Is our victim, they didn't get anything back.
Hmm. How many people were in the house when you guys raided it?
Two, there were
Two people?
two, and oh, and then it ended up there was a third, but that person wasn't there. But then my phone rang, and it was the main scammer, the guy.
He got your number from the metadata in the photo. Oh,
Yes,
this is an interesting conversation.
he did. So I encouraged him to just come back to his house and we could talk about everything. He did not believe me that I was at his house, and he didn't want to accept the fact that I was telling the truth and I was there. So then I took a photo of his front door with his address and I sent it to him, and then he hung up the phone.
Did you ever hear hide or hair from them ever again? No,
No, no.
no. Wow.
But I mean, that kind of felt good. So
Yeah,
he knew we were there. He knew we got stuff. But in the end, that's what happens a lot of times in these cases. Your justice is measured in different ways. It's
sure.
never whole and complete like you see on TV. You have to count your victories in different ways.
So what were these two people were prosecuted, but I mean, as you said, you really couldn't pin everything to them. So I'm guessing they didn't, their prosecution probably was pretty minimal.
Well, yeah, and I don't know what the other state ended up charging with. In our state, when this whole case was presented, It was not charged in our state. It was elected to be charged in the other state.
Hmm.
And I don't know the outcome of that because again, a lot of times what happens in these cases is once that stuff goes on and it goes down the road and it happens over months, maybe years, you don't people don't reach back out and say,
Sure.
hey, this is the outcome.
And as foreign nationals, I'm guessing their visas were probably revoked for, I think, any crime. So then there's some justice
Yeah.
in that, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't,
So,
and yeah, I don't know the outcome of that either. That could have been a possibility. I don't know. I know there was a lot of, probably really, really good intelligence that was gathered. So
oh
that's a
yeah, I'm
victory
sure they
too.
had they had a lot of. I'm assuming they're doing a lot of stuff through computers and cell phones, so all of that information could have been gathered
Yeah,
and taken. So it's just you shut that down. Who knows how long and how many people they had taken advantage of. So it's
yeah,
just I wish there were more stories like this. I mean, detective coming from a little town, gets the Secret Service involved because they're interested in another jurisdiction and a specialty crime force. So it's a great story. I wish you would have been able to catch all of them, get the money back. But as you said, it doesn't always work the same way that it does on TV.
yeah. That's true. But it does feel good because
Yeah.
we got something out of it. We followed through, and it does feel good to get to whatever degree you can people like this and put a stop to them, even if it's temporarily.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times with these scam cases, they don't get resolved. They don't. There's so many of
No.
them. Departments are inundated with this stuff. It's rare for this stuff to happen, but the opportunity to I termed it as running a reverse on them. It was enjoyable. I'll be honest. It was enjoyable. It brought a smile to our faces that we were able to do something with it.
Yeah, it's nice to hear the success stories because you don't usually hear those. You just hear about the scam stories. So
Yeah,
excellent, great job. This was fun, Jeff. I hope we can do a couple more of these and catch a couple
sure.
more people. Well, no, I'm saying catch them a couple more people, but I'm just a guy sitting behind a microphone. So
Hey,
hope you
that's all
can catch
right.
a couple more people and I can talk
Yeah,
to you about it. So
it's fun. It's a good
great.
time.
Well, Jeff, as always, it was a pleasure to have you on, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Have a
All
good
right,
evening.
Chris. Thanks, Chris. You too. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.